The Red River Farm Network is celebrating the role of women in agriculture. It's our special series that we call Agriculture. Of course, we have all our great sponsors that make this possible. The Minnesota Soybean Research and Promotion Council, the Minnesota Corn Growers Association, North Dakota Corn Council, Ag Country Farm Credit Services, and Van On and Company. And our guest today is Leann Schafer, who farms and ranches with her husband Jeff in that new Rockford, North Dakota area. Leann, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I always like to get that origin story. How did you find yourself in this world of agriculture?
Well, I grew up on a farm and ranch out in western North Dakota at Beulah. So my dad has farmed all his life. And so me and my three brothers were just part of the crew of what we did. And so I started out at a young age helping dad, doing chores, riding with him to sale barns, and then as everybody got a different job, you kind of moved up in tractor size or responsibilities or things like that. So I'm the third out of the four kids, and so I was a little bit lower on the totem pole. It took me a little longer to get up to bigger tractors. So I've always been in agriculture.
And you and Jeff, tell us about your operation.
I met Jeff at college, and so came back here. He's the fifth generation on a Rhine Valley farm. Is what we call this farm and ranch here. Diversified crop and livestock. So we do corn, oats, wheat, or sorry, not wheat anymore. Corn, oats, soybeans, and edible beans. And then we have a cow-calf operation, and we have a small feedlot, um, just a state permitted 999, so that we do back running or finishing cattle back in there.
You have a
And
feed
then,
business too, don't you?
oh yes, we have Rough Rider Feeds, so a Prina dealership that we do off the farm here. That we have a warehouse and an office, so that's probably my main responsibility day to day. But that's all part of it. And then we have three children, and two of the three, the oldest two, are in the operation. They farm and ranch with us as well.
It's got to be nice to have that next generation following behind.
It is. And actually our oldest has four children and they're also involved. So they come to the farm every day. They all have cattle, actually. They were given five replacement heifers when they were born. And so they all have their own little herd that they've started. And they all have individual colored ear tags so they know whose cows out there calving and a little competition going on there. So it's like who's first or if it's a heifer or bull calf. So it's been fun to see the eyes of agriculture through a child. It's just amazing.
I love that. It's a very cool idea and getting them involved right from the start.
Hmm.
Of course, Leann, we know each other through your involvement with the Northarvest Bean Growers. Know Jeff through his activities with North Dakota Stockmen's Association. Did a little bit of homework. You've been involved in the North Dakota 4-H Foundation, township officer, fair board, uh, lots of different things involved in your local community. Tell me about why you step up and get involved in all those different activities.
I think I feel like everybody has different talents and everybody has a story that they can bring to the table. Information of what's happening on their farm and ranch that is an impact on the industry as a whole. And so it started out as a minor role and you kind of grow into different positions. But I definitely feel like you have to give back to the industry that is providing your livelihood, and you have to make a difference. So not just let everybody else do the heavy lifting and doing the work, but you need to be out there as a spokesperson or at least involved in the conversation to be able to direct the direction of your organizations or where you want to see the the path that it leads. And then it's always the adage about if you're not there to voice your opinion, don't complain about what's happening because you need to be involved.
Very, very true. Is there something you enjoy more than others, and as far as being involved, say, in leadership in one of those groups?
All of them bring a different flavor in different organizations. I, growing up in a family of just boys, I was the only girl. I've always felt comfortable being around agriculture, and because I feel I am a farmer and a rancher. I'm not just a housewife or things like that. So I'm out there day to day. So I feel that my perspective might come a little different, coming as from the women's side of it, but there's numerous women that play that role every single day. And so sometimes I think they're overlooked or their opinion doesn't seem to matter. But for the most part, it is, we need everybody to be a part of that conversation.
I find that interesting. Are we still dealing with some of those same stereotypes that we've had in the past, do you think?
I don't know if I don't see it or feel it just because I'm not trying to come at it as it's as a woman. I'm just a farmer and a rancher. So I don't know if some people have more sensitivity to it than others, but for the most part, there's opportunities everywhere. So if you're a hard worker, someone who's willing to step up and do the job, that's what agriculture is all about. So it doesn't matter what, shape or form you come in, old or young, or your your different backgrounds. If you're willing to work, I believe that there's an opportunity for everybody in this industry.
I couldn't agree more. You also were involved in FFA. Am I right? You were a
Yes.
state officer?
Yes.
Talk to me about that experience.
It was wonderful. So I was also involved, started out in 4-H. So just as, a 10-year 4-H member, and then went into FFA, and that 4-H just opens your mind and your you know, for the idea of opportunities, things that you can do, things that you can do for yourself at any age. A young age, you can be successful. And then you get to the FFA side of it. And that was at that time, freshman through senior in high school. And to me, that was where they took you and put the polish on all the things that you learned through the 4-H side and gave you more leadership opportunities and public speaking opportunities and give you a path that there's so much more out there, things that we hadn't even thought about when we were freshmen. All of a sudden as a senior, it's like new opportunities were already being developed at that time. And so I had that chance to be able to work with a great team of young people to travel the state as a state officer. And to me, it empowered young people to be able to do things. You didn't have to be told what to do. You were the person that was doing the responsibilities. And that, in my mind, has always kind of set the stage that everybody can be a part and can make an impact. It doesn't matter what your age is.
I just always have so much respect when those state officers, whether it's at a county or a chapter banquet or when they're planning state convention or on the stage at state
Mhm,
convention or a national, what have you. It's always impressive. It's a great organization.
mhm. I would
So,
agree.
yeah. Um, Tell me something about your day to day that maybe someone wouldn't expect. What are some things that part of farm life that you're involved with that might surprise some people?
Um, I don't know about surprising anybody. It's kind of a typical day on a farm and ranch. So we feed cattle, do chores. We do have some help. So I used to be the in the feed wagon every morning, and so now that's kind of been delegated out to someone else. But so we always need someone to feed cattle, check waters, check pans, things like that. Calving's coming up, so pretty soon that'll be the busy season for us to start until farm work starts. And then all of a sudden, the guys leave the yard, and then it's usually Chelsea and I who are doing the calving side of it. So we do more hands-on, do things that what most everybody farm and ranch would do. On the other part of it, like with the feed store, that's kind of my responsibility of like the office part and taking orders, deliveries, things like that. Jeff does the milling side of it, of the bulk milling, but for the most part of the bags um, and tubs and things that comes under my role each day.
How did you get involved in Northarvest, the leadership role you have there?
I um, I knew Jim Kirkcuddy in college, and so he had Kirkcuddy's is North on Bean and Seed in Fezzen. And so he had called me up one time. He said he needed some help setting up his bookkeeping at his at the bean plant. And so it was just starting out. And so I went there and helped him get bookworks kind of started. And then he asked if I could help him out just a couple days a week. And so then I started with doing just a few days a week there. And then as his business grew, he needed more work in the office. And so then I ended up going full time at the bean plant. And we also at that time were raising dry edible beans, so kind of could see it from the producer side, but then also from the office side. And so I learned a lot working with Jim and just all the different aspects of the bean business, and he was always willing to take on a challenge. And his best years were when crops were at the worst, like if we had early frost or had damage or something. He always could find and upgrade that quality of product that he had and find a buyer for it. And we did some export over to Angola and foreign countries and stuff, so I got to see that side of it um, from the export side. And then when a position opened up for our region, so as you know, like my region covers 3/4 of North Dakota from Wells County to Western North Dakota, and so there was an opportunity, and Jim asked if I'd be willing to serve on the board. He knew that as a producer, as a being being counter at the at the office, that I had some skill set. And so that's kind of where I jumped into it. And I really found a passion for promoting beans and working with the other producers and seeing how things are done the same, but yet different in every place that, from every operation, every farm across the Northarvest region.
Could more be done with that, whatever organization, so there is more representation of women on some of these boards and councils and such?
I think there's women would be welcomed at these organizations. They bring, maybe a little different perspective, to kind of see it. I see it from the food side, from the health side, from things like that, as feeding my family. So I can bring that to the table, not just, how our production and production costs or exports or things like that. So it's kind of probably a different perspective that would be welcome at every boardroom, that if people would be willing to step up to try. Most of the time we're kind of reserved about it. Someone gives us, needs to give us a nudge to be able to throw our hat into the arena. But for the most part, women have a great perspective, and I think there's opportunities for everybody.
Who are your role models when you kind of started into this whole process?
Oh, my mom and dad. My dad was one that always gave us a chance to try. So it was never too busy to be, go out for livestock judging. Never too busy, on the farm that we couldn't be involved in 4-H or showing or things like that. And so that network of people, then you came in contact with other people from other areas, and you could learn and grow from, from what you learned from them. And then just family wise, it seemed like everybody always pitched in, and that was your job to be a part of it. And never that you couldn't do something because of either your age, your size, your sex. It was just you were a person that could do anything. So
I appreciate that. Well, I enjoyed our conversation. Any final thoughts for us, Leann?
oh, I appreciate what Red River Farm Network does for agriculture. It's just always given a positive outlook of what's going on, and gives us a voice that every industry is important. Every person who is involved in it is important. And so we respect that, and we appreciate that as well.
It means a lot to me. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Leann Schafer with us as we celebrate women in agriculture, our special series we call Agriculture.